And joining us now is Governor Hickenlooper. Welcome. Good to have you here at Channel 7.
Glad to be here.
Let me start by asking a little bit about your time in office thus far. I am sure you have heard your critics feel that you try too hard to appease everyone, whether it be about guns, fracking, even the death penalty. As you look back over the past 6 months, if you could have a do-over, whether it be on a decision or a statement you made, what would that be?
Well, I'm not sure. Certainly none of the decisions. I do think that over the past couple years, there were some issues where we could have done a better job of getting more people into the state capitol, hear more different perspectives. And I think we learned that a couple years ago. And I think the results this last year, almost every bill we passed was bipartisan. And it's really a function of just listening to people, trying to keep some of the partisanship out of it when you can.
I look back, especially with the legislature, they have had some very difficult issues to confront. One of them was civil unions, and you had a special session, yet nothing came out of that. Some would say that could be failed leadership on your end, because if you're going to have a special session, shouldn't you at least know that you're going to get something done?
No, you can't always know, because people tell you they think they're going to do something, and then in the end, they don't. Then other people lobby them, and they change what they thought they were going to do. Some things, I mean, that was a uniquely partisan issue, right, that people felt very strongly about. We thought that there'd be a way to navigate it. We also had some other bills in that session that really did affect the budget and allowed the state to save far more money than we were spent on the special session. So we needed a special session anyway, but I was disappointed. I'd be very blunt. I felt that we were all disappointed that we didn't get something through for civil unions. And
I mean, in hindsight, whether it be that issue or others, did you learn anything about negotiating with the other party or having those conversations? Because really your success in many ways is determined by what the legislature does.
Well, it's the darndest thing, that I spent my years building restaurants, and then, in the city of Denver, it's nonpartisan. It's the darndest thing that people will want you to fail, even when they agree with the policy that you have. And that has taken a bit of time to learn, just because it's, I always think that people are going to support their own self-interest. And part of my job is to get people to see a broader self-interest. So if I get different parties to all see a broader self-interest, those self-interests overlap, that's where progress happens. Policy gets made, in business, transactions occur. It's harder in the legislature.
Sure. You've had to confront some very heavy-duty, for lack of better words, occurrences while in office. The movie theater shooting, and a long list of natural disasters. And the state has moved forward. As you look back, though, are there things that you wish that you have had accomplished thus far that still need to be accomplished as you look forward, that perhaps those issues got in the way?
Well, you always want to get more done. I mean, my whole life I've always felt, looking back, that I could have done faster, more. We've had 13 federally declared disasters. That's more than any state in a 4-year period in the history of the country, right? The worst 2 floods, or the worst 2 droughts since the Depression, the worst 2 wildfire seasons in history, and then the worst, most destructive flood. That does derail you a little bit, but, we were 40th in job creation, now we're 4th. We were upside down, had $1 billion deficit in the state budget. Now we've got a reserve fund of $650 million. We've made great progress, but we've got further to go. We're 4th, we should be 1st, right? We get more kids get their first job. We've got to make sure that some of those long-term people have been out of work for a long time. How do we get the business community to give them a second chance and get them in the workforce?
You mentioned education. As you have seen, especially here in the Denver metro area, school board decision and school board races have really become these partisan battles, which had never been seen before. I mean, almost unprecedented. Are you surprised to see what's happening really even at the hyper-local level?
Yeah, I'm amazed. Kids should always come first. And to be fighting over what is the right part of history to teach or the wrong part. And again, I respect school boards have a responsibility to help design how education works in their school district. But history is history, right? And you've got to study the history of Martin Luther King, but you also have to study the history of the Boston Tea Party, right? From the life of me, I can't see how you can get in a battle, unless you're really just fighting over the partisan lines, how can you get in a fight? I mean, the AP test is the AP test. If we don't teach what they're looking as, what all the historians across the country have decided is appropriate history, our kids aren't going to do as well on the AP test, and they're going to not get into the colleges they want to, and it puts us at a disadvantage.
Let's talk about marijuana in the remaining time we have. Just recently, you made a statement that you felt that the decision by voters was reckless, but then you, I think, the next day clarified and called it risky. My question is this: by criticizing the will of the people, so to speak, this is legislation, or this was a measure that was passed by conservatives, independents, by Democrats. Isn't that almost insulting to the will of the people by saying something like that?
Well, that's why I changed again, that was said in a debate, and they asked me, so you think it was risky? And I thought, well, was it reckless? I tried to think about it, but you don't have time to think. So I said, sure, because I know there was a great deal of risk, and that's why risk is a better word. I think many people knew there was some risk, but the old system was so dysfunctional. We sent millions of young kids to jail just for selling pot. Made them felons. And we weren't reducing the amount anymore. We look at the polls now, it doesn't seem like there are a bunch more people smoking than used to smoke, but now we're getting rid of the drug trade, right? And drug dealers don't care who they sell to. So there was a risk, but our job, and I opposed it, right? You know, the voters approved it, even though I opposed it. They approved it 55-45. My job is to do everything we can to make sure those regulations work. And at the same time, we keep pot away from kids, right? That high THC, every neuroscientist I talk to thinks it has a high potential to cause damage to their long-term memory.
1 minute left. We want to give you a chance to directly address the voters.
Sure, and I appreciate that, and I really enjoy being on the show. You know, we have come through 4 of the hardest years in terms of natural disasters, but we've never flinched as a state, and we have pulled together, helped our neighbors recover. We just got our new unemployment numbers. The unemployment is down from 5.1 to 4.7%. We're number 1 for workforce in the country. We're the number 1 fastest growing economy. We've gone from 40th to 4th in job creation, despite all these challenges. And I think the key is we've got more to go, right? We are the thinnest state. We're becoming the healthiest state. We reduced teenage pregnancies statewide by over 40%. These are remarkable achievements, but we're just getting started. We have to be the healthiest state. We have to be the most innovative education state, and we have to help keep creating more jobs so that not just our kids, but all of our citizens can not just get a job, but get a raise and get a job that leads to a better job. And that's our commitment in the next 4 years.
Governor Hickenlooper, got to keep on time schedule, so I appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks for stopping by.